So welcome to our circle where we are going to share about flower essences to support your will manifestation. So if you're here now, if you can type in who you are, where you're tuning in from, and what you're present to. There's so much going on in the world every day. And with this Pisces moon, there's so much that we're flowing through and moving through. The watery currents are here. And so placing in here what you're present to. Of course, we just began a new 8-year cycle with Venus, with our beloved guide of love and beauty and earthly embodiment, who stands for the collective consciousness. And so we've just begun this 8-year cycle, this 19-month synodic cycle. So the first of her petals, of the 5 petals of her 8 years. And in Gemini, all about communication and being a messenger for those who may not have the ability to speak. And so we are in a time of a lot of awakening. I shared about this in our live from last week with the movement here in the United States, Black Lives Matter, that's been going on for way too long, and the awakening of white people, of our privilege, our supremacy that's embedded, and of course, all over the world, whether it's indigenous peoples who have been powered over or Black people, we're in a massive rising for humanity. And so when there's a dismantling, it can feel chaotic, it can feel overwhelming, it can feel scary. Everyone has a different experience. It can feel really joyful and exciting. Mostly it's going to feel like a lot because we are given the invitation to look within, and then to look within to make measures outward. So when there is chaos and dismantling and we turn towards ourselves, there's tremendous potentiality for envisioning how to be who you are, right? So we found this in the pandemic, right? With kind of all this time on our hands and perhaps being out of work, or perhaps having financial struggle, or perhaps having health issues, whatever it is, that there was space to tune into who you are, why you're here, what do you want your life to look like, how do you bring forth these dreams that you're holding in your being? Because these dreams, if you're here in this community, these dreams aren't just one-sided for your greater good. These dreams are really for and that which will serve many. And that's a really important differentiation that we're making when we're thinking about what it is that will manifest in your life. And so, oh, sorry, my son's crying in the background. My partner's with him, so I just got a little distracted. There's potentiality for us here in the dismantling of white supremacy, racism, racial, the structure of racism within our world. And we, especially as white women, go, wow, who do I want to be? How do I want to live my life? How do I want to create my offerings? And of course, our sisters who are Black, who are women of color, you also have the same potentiality because things are changing. And I do believe that, even though, of course, that's my privilege, thinking that, because I know many Black women, men, people are going, oh gosh, I don't want to get too excited because we've gotten excited before and there hasn't been much change. I do believe that this is different. I do believe that we're in a different time. And I also know that that's part of my privilege of speaking. So I want to talk about flower essences that will be supportive. So if you're here, please type in your name, what you're feeling present to right now. It really helps me to feel layers of engagement, that I'm not just sitting and talking to the air and the space. Where you're tuning in from, what you're present to. Each woman who's here is holding visions and dreams. It's just kind of part of our makeup, right? To see something, to feel something, to want something. There's been many, 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 many books and movies about manifesting. So if you've ever watched one of those, can you do hearts here? I kind of forget what you can do on Facebook Lives. If you've ever read books, created altars on manifestation, watched movies, you can put some hearts. And I see ladies are here, so I'd really like to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? What are you present to? So let's talk about manifestation or manifestation. I use flower essences a lot for bringing forth that which I hold to be true in my being. So I want to just, as I talk about the flower essences, I'm going to be kind of giving some teachings on manifestation. Oh, here you are. Okay, Janine from Boulder. I am present to desiring to grow my offering for women, yet I feel there are blocks inside that I'm working through. It feels hard to let go of certain habits and ways of being. Thank you. Yeah, that's the hardest. Those are the hardest things. Thank you, Janine. Linda from Denver, Natalia from California. Hi, beauty. Thanks for tuning in and posting here. It helps me to feel that level of connection. I appreciate that. So as I share about the flower essences, I'm going to share my take on manifestation. I'm going to share ways that I've used essences for manifestation. Of course, if you have questions, please type them in so that I make sure that I'm really I'm meeting you where you're at, what's present for you. So yeah, so I'm just feeling, of course, with this beginning of this 8-year cycle, and so it's kind of like Venus has rebirthed herself, and at the same time, there's this incredible dismantling of systems and structures that are based in injustice, inequality, inequity, and exclusivity. And so there is always these openings, right, of what's possible then to create, and where do I stand in that creative flow. So it was really hard for me to choose essences because there's so many different essences that can help at various stages of your will manifestation process. So as I was saying before, there's a lot of books, there's a lot of classes, workshops, documentaries about manifesting. And what I found over the years when I was listening to students is that they've done a lot of these things. They've set up the altar, they've taken the workshop, they've read the books, but that thing that they're calling forth still has not revealed itself. And so what happens when we have those experiences is that we kind of internalize them, that there's something wrong with us. And then we start to make these stories that are really stories, they're untruths about what's possible for you to experience, right? And we go into that compare and despair, and then the self-judgment. The thing about manifesting that I think is left out of so much is that your internal beliefs have to be in alignment with that which you're affirming to be true. That doesn't happen just overnight, or else you'd already have the thing that you're wanting to bring into your life, right? So we have to start with beliefs. And then once there's like kind of a click in with the mind starts reverberating these kind of energetic frequencies to your field that kind of holds you in. And then you're able to attract that which you're affirming to be true. So it's a whole process. And it's your mind, though, because everything that you desire awakens from your womb space. Your womb space is connected to the dream of the cosmos, and the dreams land in your own womb space from the time you incarnate here. And of course, over the course of your lifetime, as you awaken, as you incarnate, as you embody, these dreams are made available to and through you. And so they're living in your body. They're part of your body's intelligence and brilliance and wisdom. And it's really about your mind going, okay, this is possible for me. Okay, I believe this to be true. Now, sometimes we don't always believe it to be true in the beginning, and there's flower essences for that. So I'm going to share those with you. But I've just seen flower essences be, for me, one of the most phenomenal ways to bring forth that which you're calling in. And really it's magic, right? Is magic is created, well, magic is really bringing the intangible, the unseen into the seen, into the tangible. And magic gets created through your relationship with the earth, with the elementals, and with your own body and your body's truths. So is this all making sense? Any of you here have something that you're wanting to bring forward into your life? I kind of imagine it's a yes. So if you wish to share it with us, which is always very, very powerful, I'd love to hear what it is that you're desiring, wanting. We're even going to use that word want, wanting to bring forward, to manifest, to will manifest into your life, into the world. There's nothing too big. There's nothing too small. It can be, anything from wanting to feel really joyful when you wake up in the morning to wanting to move from your hometown that you grew up in to Tahiti and work with indigenous peoples there to support their the containment of their culture. It could be anything. It could be anything. Nothing's too big or small if it's in your being, and then therefore your consciousness. It's here for a reason. So if you have times where you go, nah, that's crazy. Who am I to do that? How could I do that? I want you to acknowledge that, perhaps follow the thread, but it becomes a choice whether you believe that. Okay, so if you're here and there's something that you are bringing forth or wish to bring forth, I'd love for you to put it in here, okay? Okay, Kira, so you're saying, I want to manifest a close circle of women friends. Great, beautiful. In person, maybe, is what I'm wondering, to just make it even more clear. And I want to manifest a new career that centers around empowering women, though I don't know what that looks like yet. Great. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. And you know what's powerful about when a woman shares here is we get to hold that vision and we get to track with her how that's flowing and growing and moving. So if you put it here, we get to hold that vision for you. Okay, so I'm just gonna bring up my notes because there were so many essences that I thought of to share with you. And here we go. Okay, so as I was saying, there's different stages of manifesting, right? So Kira's saying, I know I want this kind of career, but I'm not totally sure what that looks like. Another woman here may be absolutely crystal clear about what it is that she's calling forth. Um, and so we're all kind of at different phases, and we always will be as we're manifesting. There's always kind of like the feeling, the vision, and then we go like the how to and the clarity. And then when we get the clarity and the specificity, we're able to bring it into form with swiftness. So I want to talk about that moment kind of before you're totally clear. So there's two essences that came to me as I was thinking about that moment. One, actually, are they both from Avalon? No, actually, I might have to talk about a third. So one of them is from Avalon. I collected it in Avalon. It's called Om Phallus, Omphalus. Om Phallus is a stone that, so it's not really flower essence, it's a stone essence. It's a stone that is said that the priestesses of Avalon, and it could be, there's different stories. So it was either the priestesses or perhaps just the high priestess would sit on this rock, and it's got this divot, this triangular divot, so kind of like a yoni or a womb space. And it's said that the priestesses or the high priestess would sit on this rock, kind of yoni to yoni, and bleed onto this rock. And so the blood of woman, and the blood holds all the DNA of who you are, of, blood is life. So it holds the life-giving consciousness. And of course, as a priestess, or even as a high priestess, these beings who devoted their lives to be in service for divine will to come through them and enact it through their own free will and personal will, this stone holds deep power. When you use this, there's something that happens where you're able to access the dreams of your own womb space, to the consciousness of the dreams of the cosmos, the dreams that have been here for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years, that house the intimate and inherent wisdom that's needed to come through you right now on this planet. And so it's kind of this like direct link of divine feminine birthing. What's next for you? What's here for you? And so this is not an essence that you take, some of the essences that I talk about, you take 3 drops 3 times a day. This is not an essence like this. This is a ceremonial essence where you take 1 or 2 drops and you sit holding an intention, right? So for example, I see a couple others. So Janine's wanting to manifest embodying trust and releasing that which isn't serving. Lindy manifesting a new retreat building at her farm to host women's programs, building online programs. Linda, a home on a beautiful property to share our offerings. A lot of similar dreams and visions we hold. And of course, Kira, that, your own work with women, or creating friendships in person, creating sisterhood, really. So you take this, if you're at a point where it's like, it's not totally clear, it's kind of clear, not totally, you take the Om Phallus, you sit in ceremony with the intention to truly connect to your bloodline, your own DNA, your blueprint, truly, right? We each have an energetic blueprint of who we are, why we're here, that hopefully we can touch into at points in our lives so that we can fulfill destiny. And I know destiny can sound like kind of this big surreal word, which it is. And destiny can be things that happen in our everyday world as mothers, as lovers, as partners, as community members. They can also be kind of these bigger, career focused things that are more outward, that are more quote unquote seen than maybe your mothering in your own home. So Om Phallus connects you to your own womb space, to the blueprint of who you are, and through your spiritual connection, right? Because this is where priestesses, those who are on a devotional path, would sit and bleed. And of course, we know when we're bleeding, we have access to those liminal realms. We have access to things that we can't necessarily see or feel or touch into at other parts of our cycle. And so you kind of go into those spaces. The other essence is part of our shamanic collection, and that's May apple. So May apple is a tree essence, and she's a really fierce ally. Um, so let's say you have a question about something that you're really wanting to feel, experience, and you're kind of having some challenge with it. Like you can't quite get there. It feels like there's obstacles. You're not sure what those obstacles are. You kind of just need some insight, right? You're just like, what's next? How do I do this? May apple is for you. So again, this is more one that you take in kind of once or twice. It's not, 3 drops 3 times a day. And so you hold this intention. So I remember the first time I really worked with May apple was the very first time I was launching the Woman Rising Flower Essence Practitioner Training Program. And so that was 7 years ago, and I was living in Los Angeles, and I remember having this kind of little alcove off of my bedroom that I used as my altar, meditation, prayer space. And I remember I remember putting out maybe like the first email, hey, registration is open. And I had this vision that I wanted 12 women, and there really wasn't much traction. I wasn't getting much kind of feedback or, of course, signups. And I thought, well, what am I missing here? What can't I see? What can't I see? Because I was having a lot of mental turbulence and emotional upset because flower essences are just like, I know they're part of my dharma here. Why is no one registering? It was really hard for me. And I took a couple drops of May apple and laid down and asked her to show me that which I needed to see. And I've done this at other times in my life when I wanted to call forth a relationship. Kind of like, why is this not happening? What am I not seeing here? And May apple is a very fierce ally. She doesn't mince her words, and she cuts directly to that which you need to know and shares or shows with you places that you haven't yet seen that are important for you to see. So she's very powerful. I mean, I think everyone should work with May apple. She's got a very unique personality. So she's in our shamanic collection. And our shamanic collection is specifically for, accessing those realms that exist outside of time and space so that you can potentially create relationships with spirit or see things that you don't usually see. And so May apple is one of those essences that's highly supportive, especially during these times where you're wanting to manifest and you're like, why is this not happening? Or what do I need to see in order for something to happen? She can show you what you can't see. And then there's another one that I wasn't planning to talk about that I want to talk about, which is Gog, G-O-G, Gog tree. That's in our Avalon collection. And Gog tree really helps to understand the divine orchestration of things, right? So sometimes we have this like, I want this and I want this to happen now, right? Anyone ever have that? I have. And there's divine timing and there's divine orchestration, and God can really help you to see that so that you can relax into, surrender into, still being proactive to your manifestation process, but you can relax into that there is a process. I think so much in our world, we kind of get fed this idea that everything happens like that overnight. Sometimes that happens, but more often than not, it's a process that goes hand in hand with your own relationship to the unseen realms. Okay, and so if you have any questions about any of the essences that I'm talking about, please make sure that you write them in here. Okay, so those kind of help you get clear and see obstacles, understand divine timing, connect to your womb space in your dreams. Okay, then there's this whole section of really working with the beliefs, right? So as I was saying, if you don't believe that it's possible for you to have whatever it is that you're calling forth, it can't happen. If you're sitting at your altar, if you've made a vision board, and to meet Oprah, right? And the whole time you're sitting at your altar, the whole time you're praying, the whole time you're envisioning, your mind goes, you're never going to have that. You're not good enough for that. That happens for everyone else. That's not going to happen for you. You get gypped in this lifetime. Whatever the thoughts are that we all have, it's like they cross each other out. It can't happen. Your mind creates rays of consciousness that go out into the world. So we have to work on our beliefs about what's true. And there's, obviously flower essences specifically work on beliefs and wounds that we hold in our bodies. So this section of flower essences could be very long, but let's see how many I picked. 1, 2, 3. I picked 4. So the first one is borage. Borage flower is for courage, right? So it's like, firstly, you have to have courage to go after these dreams that you're holding, whether they're internal desires or external. You have to have the courage to believe that it's possible. You have to have the courage to go after them. So borage is one of my favorite essences. Red cedar is one of our tree essences for safety, right? There's a lot going on in our world where women proclaim what they're calling forth, and either it doesn't feel safe inside of your own self to be that forthcoming in your claiming, or it doesn't feel safe because there's outside people saying, no, that's not possible, or tearing you down or something like that. So red cedar just gives you that anchor of, I'm safe to go after that thing that I believe to be true, that wants to come through me, that will serve others. And then ash. So ash tree, it's actually, I think it might be both in our Avalon collection and our tree collection. It's definitely in our Avalon collection. The ash tree essence creates like an incredible stability to the system, but especially to the mind. So it helps to release inner judgments, to calm those self-deprecating thoughts, so you can make choices and decisions with ease. What happens when we're manifesting is that oftentimes we get to a certain point and then we start questioning ourselves, or we start believing that it's not possible. So it's like we kind of go there and then we pause. And a lot of times it's the pause of just like our own disbelief in our own self. And then one of my favorite essences, flower essences for the belief piece when you're manifesting, is golden seal. So golden seal really supports the worries, the fears that come forward as you're bringing something forward. So this could be on the real 3D logistical level. So for example, I think Linda and Lindy were talking about, physical structures, right? Linda's talking about a home. Lindy's talking about a new retreat building. So these are real logistical things, right? I need to have the money, I need to have the people helping, all of these things, right? And so especially when it comes to money, all of us here have different wounds, beliefs about what we're able to access. So let's say you need to raise $200,000, or let's say you need to raise $20,000 for a new building. And your mind goes, what? Like, where am I going to get $20,000? I don't have it. And you think, okay, I need it. I have the thought. So the thought means that it's already here, it's already alive. So what's the process for bringing it into form? When you're in that process, a lot of fears, a lot of worries, and a lot of beliefs that are limiting start to come forth. So with Golden Seal, the best way to use it in specifically in manifesting is that every time the belief comes up that goes, there's no way you're going to bring forth $20,000 for this new retreat building. That's not possible. You take a drop of Golden Seal. So when I was launching that first flower essence program and no one was signing up, I was having so much anxiety for two reasons. One, this is my heart's call. This has to come forward. And when it wasn't, it was like what's that word? It was making me believe something about myself, right? So it was impacting my own self-worth. And then the other piece was financially. I needed this program to bring women to me because I needed to make money. I was just starting my work career with flower essences, specifically as a practitioner. I needed to bring in money. And so it brought up all of these fears and doubts. And so every time I'd have that, which the first day felt like I was taking a drop of Golden Seal every 5 minutes. That's not an exaggeration. And after 24 hours, I was taking it maybe 4 times a day. And by the third day, I just believed it to be true. I'm getting 12 women, 12 extraordinary, amazing women sign up for the Woman Rising Flower Essence Practitioner Training Program by May 12th, whatever the year it was. I was clear. And so the Golden Seal just kind of dissolved the beliefs that were not true. And she's amazing. She is really a great ally. And so again, it's like you take her a little bit differently than that 3 drops 3 times a day. You take her every time you have a thought that's in opposition to the thing that you're affirming to manifest into the world. And you'll see it's pretty amazing if you're having fears, worries, doubts come up within 24 to 48 hours, they are completely lessened. So you can still take it. So, you may want to order 2 bottles if you're wanting to get the Golden Seal, because you may go through that first bottle pretty quickly, depending on how intensive your anxiety, fear, worry is. And that, I think that usually comes with having kind of a time frame for something to happen. If you're more spacious, you're not going to have the same level of fear, worry, and anxiety that something needs to come forward. Okay, so okay, I don't see any questions yet. Great. So let's talk about essences that also really support the manifestation process. So of course we want to get clear, we want to work on our beliefs, and then it's like, okay, let's amp up our own energetic fields so that we're radiating the frequency of that which we're calling forth. right? That's what manifestation is really about to me. It's about lifting your vibration and your frequency to match the thing that's coming forth. And that's why flower essences, I think, are amazing, because they're all frequency, they're all vibration, and so it's easy for them to lift you up. I always think about the analogy, if you've been pregnant, you'll understand this in your body, and if not, you'll understand this more in your mind. But when you're pregnant and you're carrying a soul, a being that's very high vibration, right? Not fully here, hasn't had trauma, wounds, maybe is holding some from past lifetimes, but it's different than this lifetime. And a woman who's pregnant, what happens is she has to kind of rise up to meet that incoming soul. She has to rise up and raise her vibration so that there's a pulsing, there's a unification of soul to soul. And so I really feel like when you're pregnant, a child, your incoming being, baby, soul, helps a woman to lift her vibration. It's sort of like she doesn't have another choice, because there's a being living alive in her that's big and pure. And so that's what part of your manifestation process is: lifting your frequency. Frequency is resonance. Frequency is pulsing. Frequency is electric. Lifting that to meet that unseen thing so that it magnetizes itself towards you. That makes sense, right? So there's essences that really help that. If your mind is mostly on board, maybe just a little bit, it's much easier. And you can kind of, blast those rays out for that to come forward. And my experience using flower essences to manifest, it can be pretty quick and easeful if you're clear and if you're specific and if your mind's on board, right? So let's talk about some of those essences. So first we have pink mimosa. So pink mimosa, it's not really in any of our collections. It kind of stands alone. So you can type it into the search box on gaiaswisdom.com if you're interested in that one specifically. If you've ever seen pink mimosa or mimosa tree, although the pink is just has a different energy than the red, she's very like joyful and jubilant and got this kind of playful, energetic, this light energy, and there's an abundance with her. And so when you're calling something forth, part of it is living in the frequency of abundance. I'm not just talking about financial abundance. I'm talking about the idea that there is an infinite amount available. So what's, I can only really speak for the United States, but I'm pretty sure this is a worldwide developed country ideology that there is scarcity. Even yesterday, I was reading more about white supremacy. It's based on this idea of lack. It's based idea that there's only so much that's available. And so in this situation with white supremacy, only the white people get that. Really, that's not true. Like, yes, maybe on a 3D level, resources seem limited. But in the pure potentiality of consciousness, it's infinite. It's infinite. What is possible? And so again, that's just like a shift of the mind, which is, of course, important. And so the pink mimosa tree is really that abundance, infinite limitlessness is available. You have to believe in the infinite, right? So when you're manifesting, it may be, like a land or a circle of friends. And in your mind has these ideas of how it's going to come through, right? Okay, well, I'm going to go meet this one woman, and then she's going to have a group of friends, or I'm going to have to search online for a house. And, the mind has all these ideas of how things are going to happen. When you're in the realms of lifting frequency to meet that which you're drawing forth, it's limitless. The potentiality of how this experience, this feeling is going to come through, you don't know yet. You don't know yet. There's so many doors, pathways that this thing, feeling, experience can come through, that you want to stay in the abundant realms. And of course, pink mimosa has this joyful levity, playness. And so to stay in that space is also really powerful and important, because how can you play with that which you're drawing forth instead of being like super serious and I got to pull this forth, right? It's like, the children's realms, the maiden's realm is that of pure imagination, right? It's like I watch my son, he's just in that space where I could be talking in a different voice with a little character he has, and he really believes that I'm that character. There's the potentiality within imagination. So pink mimosa is an amazing one. And also any tree essences is also going to be like grounding and stabilizing. So that's always really great for manifesting. Herkimer diamond, and actually I think we have to put that on our website, so I'm just going to make a note. But Herkimer diamond, so this is a Herkimer diamond essence, stone essence, and it really helps that I was talking about before, like really radiating that belief, that affirmation, right? So for example, on Linda's, by September 20th, 2020, I have bought a home on a beautiful property to share our offerings. It has a garden, animals, yoga, art, photography studio. This is my affirmation, right? And so Herkimer diamond takes that, and every time you speak that, which when I teach about flower essences for manifestation, I talk about the importance of saying that affirmation out loud many times over the day while you're taking these essences, right? So as you're taking the Herkimer diamond, as you're taking the pink mimosa, as you're taking the golden seal, you're speaking these words. Your words, the spoken words, especially with Venus and Gemini right now, your spoken word is your spell. It casts it out to the web of life. It is true. It is true. And so white Herkimer diamond just kind of like brings that mind space, and it just casts it out to that. I'm trying to get you to see, like, so let's say this is the thing you're affirming, grabs it and brings it in. Really powerful. We have to put that on our website today. Sunflower. So sunflower essence is really works with the third chakra of how you put yourself out into the world. So it kind of has that similar emanation outward from the third chakra. Who am I? How do I serve in this world? How do I be in the world? So there's a confidence that happens with sunflower, but it is also about this emanation outward to then pull in that thing that you're meeting. She's a beautiful visual of you standing in that, golden aspect of the sun being that outward energetic. That's really a necessary part of manifesting, right? It's both and. It's the internal aspect and it's the outward aspect. And I think sometimes we miss that piece, with manifesting. We think, well, if I sit at my altar and I create my vision board and I pray, it's going to come. And maybe you will be one of those ones where that just happens. But for the majority of us, manifestation is both and. It's the prayer, the visioning, the altar, your vision board, and what are the actions that have to happen. And so sunflower is really good with bringing you into confident action, outward action through the light of the sun, through the masculine, to bring that towards you. Okay. Where's my document here? I've lost it. Well, I think I can probably remember what I had on it. And then I'll share 3 more. I'm just watching the time. So our last 3, the first one is Isis, the goddess Isis. She is in our God and Goddess collection. And Isis, I mean, there's so much to say about each of these. Isis is a Egyptian goddess, and she's really connected actually to the summer solstice, which for us in the Northern Hemisphere is coming up soon, because the summer solstice is this pinnacle of ascension. It's this pinnacle of the sun's light radiating and penetrating into us and therefore out of us. Isis has so many different myths and medicines that are associated with her. And one of the things that I want to bring forward is that she is the goddess of the golden alchemical truths and wisdoms that you hold. And so this aspect of the gold, gold, the sunflower, Isis, these are all really important color energetics, alchemical energetics for manifesting. So if you work with Isis, then taking this will just enhance your connection to her and then enhance your manifestation. If you haven't yet worked with her, it's going to be a beautiful invitation for the codes of the golden truth that she carries, and that will then emerge through you. So, some of these are so hard to put into words. They're tremendously hard for me to put into words. But Isis with the Ankh, which is connected to creating and being the creatress of life. It's connected to the rose lineage and to Venus. There's a lot that she can support you in your strengthening of bringing forth what you desire and what will serve. Red tea, Ti, red tea plant is from our Maui collection. And the red tea plant this one's always hard for me to describe because I have such a body sensation when I use her, but him, actually, I resonate with it more as a him. The red tea, so tea plant in Hawaiian culture is a very important plant, both for protection, for safety, for healing. The red tea holds the energy of like the tribal chief, the leader. And when you take it, what happens is, and again, you could just try this maybe like 1 or 2 drops at first. What happens is like your whole being grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And you become this like more massive, energetically more massive version of your own self. It's like your soul has a chance to really be seen in the majesty and bigness. And you need that to believe that what you're calling forth is true and possible. And so there's just, the red tea is more about like an anchoring. It's like you're growing, but you're anchoring inside of yourself. And there's a power. And I mean power in the best possible way, not power over, power with yourself, your DNA, your blueprint, your original essence. And there's just like this beautiful growth. It's like you really feel the bigness of yourself. And so much of the time we feel the smallness of ourselves, and we believe that to be true. So red tea really has a beautiful embodied experience. And then I'll complete with an essence from Avalon, which is our gold rose. So we have actually, I think there's about 7 or 8 different color roses from Avalon in our collection. The gold rose, again, holds that current of gold, of value, of you know, like the gold rose with Isis and sunflower and Herkimer diamond would be like pretty epic as a formula for yourself. Um, because the gold rose is helping you stay in your heart, which we always want as we're manifesting, because we want to make sure that it serves not just self, but that it's serving others, that which we're calling forth. And so you stay in like the expanse and the openness of your own heart, but with that current of gold, with that current that's part of manifesting value, richness, abundance, generosity, nobility. And so the gold rose is just, it kind of adds to that alchemical piece of gold that I'm sharing, you know, with sunflower and Isis, and now with this essence. So, um, you know, again, there's a lot of different essences depending on what's present specifically for you, what specifically you're bringing forth. Now, when you will manifest, you really want to be clear, because your clarity is part of that upward frequency. And so if you're not, then you go back to the Mayapple, you go back to the Omphalos, you go back to Gog, you go back to your own beliefs, right? Because maybe you actually are clear. You know, I think that happens a lot, is you really are clear, but you're not really letting yourself believe yourself to be clear. But so actually, I just thought of another essence that's amazing, is the Maui wild orchid. I think she might be one of my top 5 essences in our Maui collection. And Maui wild orchid helps you to discern truth over fear, right? We all have these moments where we go, I don't know, um, is that my intuition or is that my fear, right? Like, I think everyone kind of has those moments. And Maui Wild Orchid, it's so, when I was collecting her essence, it's crystal clear what truth is and what fear is. There's no getting them confused. They actually live in completely different planes of frequency. So I've given Maui Wild Orchid to many clients over the years who are like, I don't know. Whenever I hear I don't know, I always know that somebody knows. And it's just really hard to accept what the knowing is, because it may mean that you have to leave a marriage. It may mean that you have to leave a career you've built. It may mean that you have to leave a friendship. It's all powerful, but that's why we have fears around it, because it's going to ask us to do something that may seemingly be uncomfortable, but ultimately creates spaciousness and freedom and living in alignment with self. Maui Wild Orchid for supporting your manifestation, and really for anything. Really, if you're one of those people who's always like, I'm not sure, Maui Wild Orchid, she will support you to be sure. Really, with beauty and ease. She's not like Mayapple with her fierce directiveness. She's got a bit of a softer energetic. So are there any questions about anything that I spoke about, anything that you want clarification about? I would love to support you. I think it's such a powerful time right now. All of the essences you can find on Gaia's Wisdom, Gaias, wisdom.com. And I'm just going to make myself a note to add the Herkimer diamond, because I don't think that's on there. So you may get like a handwritten label on that, because we don't have a label. But everything else we have in stock with labels. Joanna, loving you so much. Yeah. So good. I'm so glad you're here. And so part of this what was I just going to say? Part of this process for each of you, because you kind of go, well, like I could use all of these essences, right? Is part of these essences is actually experimenting, right? So maybe you take one of the essences that I've just spoken about and it just feels so good. It's like that is an ally for you. And then you take another essence, it's like, oh, I didn't quite feel that one. Maybe I'm in a different place of my will manifestation process. So, some of it's experimentation with understanding how these essences live and thrive in your own being. Lindy, can you share about your flower essence program options? We have two different programs. One is our home study course, which you can enroll in at any point. It's a 4-week introductory initiatory program, gets delivered to your inbox every week for 4 weeks. You get an audio recording of me teaching and some PDFs, and there's a Facebook community and lots of questions in there. It's really just like, whoa, I'm really interested in this. I want to start this. And then we also have our yearly practitioner training program, which is in depth. It's 5.5 months. There's lots that you receive in that, from one-on-one sessions with a mentor, so you're understanding how flower essences move through you, to essences for your own apothecary. And then the curriculum itself is very much based in emotional trauma, emotional healing. Some women who come into our program are absolutely clear that they want to be practitioners, or they already are practitioners that want to add to their current businesses. Some women come in, especially this year, a lot of women came into the program this year at a crossroads. I don't know if I want to be a practitioner, but I don't really know if I want this career that I have right now. And I really kind of attribute that to the pandemic specifically, like just giving us time to get out of that hustle and the constant movement to go, wait, like, who am I? What do I want? So those are our two programs that we have. The practitioner program's been around for 7 years. The home study course I created about 4 years ago, because women were saying, hey, I really want to learn about flower essences, but I don't necessarily, maybe I'm not ready to take the practitioner program now, or I never want to take the practitioner program. So both of those are on the website. Our practitioner training program does fill up every year. So if it's something you're interested in, I would say for sure get on the early notification list. And the home study course is ongoing. Thanks for asking that, Lindy. Any other questions? Okay, well, I really, really pray and hope that you use these essences for that which is calling forth to come through you specifically. Each of us here, even if we have similar visions, there's a distinct and unique vibration that comes through you and your offerings and your loving and your service. So those places where we each get stuck in the process, there's always, always essences. If you have specific questions at any point, you can put them into the Facebook group. Hey, I'm at this point. This is what's happening. I need some suggestions. We have me here. We have other trained practitioners. Joanna's here. Of course, we took our program, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And of course, we have, about 115 practitioners from over the last 7 years. Maybe about 100, something like that. So there's other people in here who can also help you with where you're at with your flower essences. Ula saying the home study course is great. I'm currently doing it, so inspiring. Great, Ula. I know we have a call later today too, for our home study course. And I just want to end with this, is that there's so many ways that we as women hold back. And I know that what we're seeing in the world is that the time now is not to hold back in all different ways, right? So you don't need any permission except from yourself. And there's flower essences that will help those places where you get scared, worried, confused, overwhelmed, or disbelieve in your own self and your truth. We don't need a lot of timid, grumpy, angry, overwhelmed, irritated, agitated, unfulfilled women. We've been doing that for a long time. So, clarity on your dreams, on your desires, and bringing them forth. Thank you all so much for sharing together on this day, on this topic. And so let's just close our eyes for a moment as we complete. Taking some deep breaths. Feeling all that's present for you. So maybe there's excitement of possibilities, maybe there's overwhelm of possibilities. Feeling your truth, your innate, inherent wisdom, connected to your power, your truth, and your sight. May you feel the blessing of your existence, because your existence is a blessing. And may all that's shared always spiral and penetrate into the hearts of humanity. And so it is. And so it is. And so it is. Blessed be. Blessed be. Blessed be. Thank you all for being here. Sending so much love to your hearts. Have a beautiful rest of your day or evening. Much love.